Request accepted. Wait, where are we going?
Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So as promised, today we're back with the Ezreal complete guide. Now you guys saw the gameplay of us going into a normal match with our team having no smite at all, and that was an amazing match. But today we got another gameplay, this time from a ranked match. Of course, this being a complete guide, and with the exception of the Rakan one, all of the matches for the complete guides are all ranked matches. But yep, so today we're going to be doing Ezreal. Now Ezreal, in my 2.2 tier list, was rated as I think B tier, but actually, honestly, now I think he might be S tier or high A tier at the minimum. Now I don't think I'll be releasing a patch notes for 2.2a, but I will be doing for the next patch, which is going to be releasing very soon. So let's jump into the practice mode and take a look at his skills and leveling order. So first up, as usual, I'm going to be talking about his leveling order. So first up, at level 1, you do want to take your Q for the early game poke. So we're going to be taking Q. While we're here, I'm going to say your starting item will be Sapphire Crystal. At least that's what I like to take. So let's level up. So on level 2, you actually have a choice between your W and your E. Personally, I always take E. Or rather, I should say 90% of the time I always take E for the increased mobility, just in case like I get ganked and I need an escape so I don't have to blow my flash. So you can take E. If not, you can take W for the poke, but whichever one you didn't take at level 2, you take at level 3. So at level 3, you have all 3 abilities. Some people like taking W at level 2 to get your WQ combo off. And then you proceed on to max your Q. Of course, taking ultimate whenever available. And then max your Q, take ultimate whenever available, max your E, and then max your W last. Alright, so we're gonna go to our usual spot, of course, which is the bottom side river, and then we're gonna talk about his skills. So Ezreal is a very skill shot reliant champion because his ultimate is a skill shot, his W is a skill shot, and his Q is a skill shot. So basically, you're gonna need to be hitting all your skill shots. So here we're gonna put the dummy. So here his Q is a skill shot, of course, as I have mentioned. So it's your bread and butter ability. Use this to poke. This is your main source of damage as well. So here it's basically just does damage, and the important thing to note is that it does lower your cooldown of your other abilities. So I'm actually just gonna give an example here. We're gonna use our ultimate and wait for it to go by. So it's 73-second cooldown here. So if we hit our Q, as you guys can see, the cooldown lowers slightly. So we're at 65 seconds now, 64, and we lowered it from 64 to 62. So it reduces the cooldown of your ability by 1 second. So another thing, I should probably mention this first, but his passive is whenever he uses any skill, he does get increased auto attack speed. So he gains 10% attack speed for 8 seconds when hitting abilities, stacking up to 4 times. So here, I'm gonna just remove the cooldown of my abilities to show you guys what it looks like. So here I'm gonna press my Q once. You can see I get that bar. So I got increased auto attack speed for 8 seconds, and I'm gonna use again. I get a second bar, so that refreshes the 8 seconds, and I'm also glowing. The glow is also a passive indicator. So here again, and when I hit it for the 4th time, this bar will count the 8 seconds for me. So here, as you guys can see, this is the 10% increase. Technically, it's 40% increased attack speed because we did stack it 4 times. So here we go. So we're just going to let the bar run out. I'm going to show you guys the difference in the attack speed. So here we're having 40% increased attack speed. Now it's just normal. As you guys can see, it's a lot slower. So that is for his passive. I've already explained his Q. Next is his W. So his W is basically this ring that attaches onto enemies. It can be procced by auto attacks, it can be procced by Q, and it can be procced by E. And yeah, so basically it can be procced by R as well. So it can be procced by basically any form of damage that you can deal. Essentially, your teammates cannot proc it for you. So for this, you can't attach it to enemy champions. You cannot attach it to jungle monsters. As you can see, it does not work on the Skull Crab. However, you can attach it to towers like that. You can proc it for increased damage on towers, and you can also attach it to epic monsters such as a dragon, which will be spawning in 20 seconds. So I'll show you guys that when the dragon spawns. So his E, as you guys can see, is basically it's a blink. Essentially it's like a flash, a free flash, but the cooldown is really long. So if you guys can see, there's two ranges. The first range is the circle around me. Now this is your E range, the range that you can cast your E upon. So this is the maximum range of the circle, and there's a circle on your landing spot that moves when you move your ability. Now that is the circle for the bolt that will fire out when you press your E. So when I E over here, there is this bolt that will fire out, boom, towards the enemy. So it will prioritize the closest target. So if we see the skull crab here, it does prioritize the skull crab over the enemy. So it does not prioritize enemy champions, it prioritizes the nearest target. However, if you cast your W, it will prioritize whatever you W. So for example here, I got the skull crab and the dragon. I hit W on the dragon, and I press my E. Even though I'm closer to the skull crab, it does prioritize hitting the dragon over the skull crab. So that is something to take note. It will prioritize whoever you cast your W on. So here, I'm going to E, and you can see it hit the target dummy, in spite of the fact that I am Eing way closer to the raptors. So it will prioritize whichever target you hit with your W. So that is for his W and E. His ultimate is global, as you guys can see on the map. It hits everywhere on the map, basically. So it is a long-range global skill shot that will hit everyone in its path. It's relatively wide. You can use it to steal dragons, possibly. Steal barons, possibly, like you see over here, aiming to the baron pit. If you hold your ultimate, you can actually see it traveling. If not, it does not actually show you that on the screen, on the upper left beside the map, unlike other abilities. So that is basically it for his skills. Now, of course, some people, there aren't really combos for Ezreal because basically you just launch everything you have. But a small tip I will give you is to hold your E, especially in laning phase. A lot of Ezreals like to E in aggressively to get into position for a Q. But you guys gotta remember that this is sort of like it's not like Ahri's ultimate where you use it to reposition to hit your skill shot. It is technically that. However, what you want to notice is it has a really long cooldown. So it has a 16-second cooldown at max rank, and on its initial rank, I believe it has a 25-second cooldown. So 23.8. Okay, so roughly there, about 24 seconds cooldown. So it's really long cooldown. So if you use your E aggressively and you don't have it anymore, that is the indicator for your opponent to go in. So you want to be holding your E in laning phase as much as possible. And of course, your basic trading combo is just WQ. Of course, if you want to be more risky, you can WE as well, but that's not really good. So a thing to note is you can reposition your ultimate with flash. So here I'm not targeting the target dummy. However, I can flash to reposition my ultimate. Now, not the best use of your flash. However, if you miss-aim your ultimate and you really need to reposition your ultimate, you can do that using your flash. So with his leveling order and skills out of the way, we're gonna jump into his build, runes, and spells. So in my opinion, Ezreal has a relatively standard core build, and then it only complicates when you jump into the later items. So basically his core items are Manamune and Triforce, and normally you'll get Gluttonous Greaves. And then after that, it's normally Blade of the Rune King, Mortal Reminder, and Guardian Angel, but there is some variability in your final three items. But your first two items will always be Manamune and Triforce. So Manamune pretty much resolves Ezreal's mana issues because he is, of course, spamming spells. He is a caster style AD carry, so he'll be spamming spells. So you want to get this for the increased damage when it evolves into the Mirror Mana, like that. So it converts your mana into physical damage, which is why we also take Mana Flow Ban, as you guys will see in the runes later on. And then, of course, we go for Triforce, which will proc with Ezreal's Q, because his Q does give on-hit effects, so it will proc the Q, and it also gives Ezreal what he wants, which is ability haste, attack speed, attack damage, and health. So pretty much it's overall a core item on Ezreal. So pretty much you'll always go for these two. Now there is a blue build Ezreal which goes Frozen Gauntlet instead of Triforce as your Sheen item, but I really don't like that because I feel it really curbs your carrying potential, especially when you just late game, because you're pretty much building an armor item over pretty much your best offensive item, which is Triforce. So I never ever go for that build, but that is a pretty utility build because you can kite very well with that build, so it is still a viable build. But the build pretty much looks like this. You go for Frozen Gauntlet instead of Triforce, and what Frozen Gauntlet gives you is armor, more mana of course, which helps with the mana immune passive. Ability Haste is the same, and you also still get the Spellblade passive, but I feel that trading all your health and attack speed and attack damage stat for armor and a little bit more mana, I personally don't like it, but if you guys do like that style, go for it. But I wouldn't do it personally, so I always go for a mana immune into Triforce. So a thing to note is that, as I mentioned previously, you do want to start off with your Sapphire Crystal over here. So you buy your Sapphire Crystal as your starting item to start stacking your tier at the very start. Now there is some debate about this, whether starting Sapphire Crystal or Longsword is better, but I prefer Sapphire Crystal to start stacking immediately. Then what you want to do is, after that, you get your tier. So after you get your tier, what I used to do is, after getting my tier, I'll build the full mana immune, but what I prefer to do in my recent games is, after getting my tier, I rush Trinity Force instead. So after getting my tier, I will then get, where is it? I'll then get Sheen. So Sheen is apparently a magic damage item. So I will get Sheen, and then I'll build the rest of Triforce. So I'll go for Sheen first, then Phage, then Stinger, and then the complete Triforce. After that, then I will complete Mana Immune, and for my boots, I get it anywhere in between that, or after I complete Triforce, or after I complete Mana Immune. Depends on the situation. So pretty much his two card items, Mana Immune, Triforce, and then for the boots you normally want to go for Gluttonous Greaves for the physical vamp, because at this point in time you don't have any physical vamp yet before you build Blade of the Rune King as your third item. So you will go for Gluttonous Greaves, and then of course standard AD carry, enchant either Stasis or Quicksilver. You almost never take anything else. Then you go for Blade of the Rune King, which is pretty much core as well. You rarely take anything that's not Blade of the Rune King, but if you find yourself jumping in, you might want to go for Death's Dance. So then, of course, another core item for physical damage dealers, a Moral Reminder for the armor penetration and grievous wounds, and then Guardian Angel last for the armor as well as the revive. So the reason why I build the Guardian Angel as my default build instead of Death's Dance is because of the armor. So without building the Frozen Gauntlet, which I hate to build, we don't have any defensive stats here. So 40 armor is a lot more than most people think, and that will actually help you a ton against the enemy team, which is why I built Guardian Angel on basically every single AD carry. So however, the alternative item you have is Guardian Angel. Now Guardian Angel can, it's Death's Dance, you can swap Guardian Angel with Death's Dance, you can swap Death's Dance with Moral Reminder, and even Blade of the Rune King. So what do we know? How do we know what to swap? So basically, if you aren't getting bursted and there isn't a ton of physical damage in the enemy team, or they haven't scaled up yet, or you love to jump in with your E, you take Death's Dance, because what Death's Dance does for you is 30% of your damage taken is dealt as a bleed. So basically you delay your damage. So instead of a burst damage, you take a sort of DOT damage, and with your Gluttonous Greaves and your Blade of the Rune King, you can sort of heal up that damage that you take and not die. And in addition to that, you get ability haste, attack damage, and health, of course, all stats that you like. So normally I will trade off Guardian Angel for Death's Dance. However, there are occasions where instead of building Blade of the Rune King, I built Death's Dance first so that I can be more aggressive. Then I built Blade of the Rune King, and then Moral Reminder. So there have been matches where I go into an enemy team which is full on glass cannon. So instead of building Moral Reminder, which is not very useful for the armor penetration, I built Death's Dance instead, and I get someone else on my team to build Grievous Wounds so that I don't have to. Ezreal is not the best person to apply Grievous Wounds as well, because aside from his ultimate, the rest of his abilities are single target, so it's a little bit hard to apply Grievous Wounds to the entire enemy team, unlike people like Kai'Sa or Xayah, which have AoE to apply the Grievous Wounds to the entire enemy team. So what I like to do if the enemy team does not have armor is to get Death's Dance instead of instead of Model Reminder. So I'll go for the same build here. Then after Blade of the Rune King, I'll go for Death's Dance and then Guardian Angel to be super safe. So Ezreal is, in case you guys haven't noticed yet, the safest AD carry because of his E. So because of that, we're gonna jump into runes, and we're gonna take Conqueror for his first rune. Now Kleptomancy, I've seen Kleptomancy Ezreal. The reason for that is he can proc it very easily with his Q, but it is a really bad rune for him because it's pretty much RNG and you don't get gold from it, unlike the original Kleptomancy in the PC version. So you do go for Conqueror instead, which is the best rune because it can stack damage when you hit them with all your abilities and auto attacks. It also synergizes pretty well with your Rising Spell Force passive, so you always want to take Conqueror. Now for your second rune, it's basically a toss-up between Brutal and Champion. So personally, I take Champion because it is a so-called high-risk, high-reward rune, but with Ezreal playing really safe and holding onto your E, which is the general playstyle I go with. I hold onto my E unless I really need it to get close for a kill, or unless I really need it to escape. So generally I take Champion because I don't really expect to die a lot, or pretty much at all, especially in the early game. Now the other one you might want to consider is Brutal if you don't feel safe taking Champion, but I always take Champion. And for the second one, I always take Hunter Titan for the health. However, the other consideration could also be Spirit Walker. It's basically personal preference between Hunter Titan and Spirit Walker. Basically, those are the two best for the second basic rune slot. For the third one, I always take Mana Flow Band for the early game mana, as well as because when we stack it up in the early game for the early game mana, and also synergizing with the Mana Mune, where we can basically technically convert it to more damage. Now other considerations could be Hunter Genius for more ability haste, or Sweet Tooth for more in lane sustain, but I personally like to go for Mana Flow Band, so this is my personal rune setup: Conqueror, Champion, Hunter Titan, as well as Mana Flow Band. And for the spell standard, even though you have your E, you want to take Flash. Oops, I accidentally changed it to Ghost. You want to take Flash. And for your other spell, you normally take either Barrier or Heal standard AD carry spells. So that's pretty much it for the build. Now let's move on to the gameplay. Alright, so here is our ranked gameplay of Ezreal. As promised, so as you guys can see, I'm starting the Sapphire Crystal as I have mentioned previously. Now this is, of course, in the latest patch, as I have mentioned in my previous videos, that the rest of my videos will be from the latest patch, of course. I've used up the so-called backlog of the old gameplay. So here the Mundo is pinging for help, and Mundo honestly doesn't have the best clear, especially at level 1. He only has his Cleaver, so I am actually gonna help him with the leash since he did request for it. So here I'm just gonna, I did even launch my Q because I'm just stacking my Sapphire Crystal already from the start. So now of course this does make us a little bit late to lane, so the enemies does have so-called a minion advantage as well as a slight XP advantage. So here we just Q to clear the first minion, and then we're just gonna try to hit our CS on the tower, which is of course, well, we're not the best at it, let's just say. So as of now, me and Nami are about to hit level 2. Kai'Sa is already level 2 now, we're both level 2, but Alistar is still level 1. So I'm trying to get my poke off, but they're both standing behind the minions, which is of course exactly what they should be doing. So I'm just using the Q to clear the minions here. Nami nearly hits the bubble, so Alistar passive does go off there, so they do get a heal. So me and Kai'Sa are both late game AD carries who sort of just want to scale to late game. So for now, at least at level 2, not too much action yet. It's just a really tame laning phase for now. So I hit level 3. So now here the Mundo actually did get caught basically by everybody. Their mid lane rotated to help, and the jungler was there as well. So essentially it was a 4v1. So since the enemy bot lane duo was able to rotate there first because they did have a better lane position, you could say that they sort of had priority over there, so they did manage to rotate first, and by the time we were making our way towards the river, Mundo was obviously already dead, so we just back off immediately. Of course, we're not going to go into a 2v4, they'll just give the enemy team another 2 more kills. So obviously we can't hit our CS on the tower. Yep, so Nami has not been hitting the bubbles this game yet. However, of course, it's just really tame. We're just all just CSing. Aside from the Mundo death, honestly, nothing much is happening around the map. We're just trying to get our poke off. Finally, we hit our Q on the Kai'Sa, and we dodged the Kai'Sa W. So that's a good thing. But Alistar passive does manage to get Kai'Sa basically back to full health. Nothing much see there. So Galio, Darius does get a kill on the Galio. So it's good. Nothing too much to report here, honestly. We finally hit level 5. Alistar does come in to engage, and Kai'Sa does come back. We E out of the way, of course, and then we get our ultimate off on both of them. So now, obviously, everybody was at full health, so we did get hit but pulverized by the Alistar, but we are at full health. And as I said in the skills part, I always hold my E, so that is an example of why you hold your E, because when you get engaged upon, you can just E out of the way. If not, I may have had to flash there. But the good thing about this situation is that the Kai'Sa and Alistar were not the most coordinated, because the Kai'Sa was out of range. Kai'Sa does have a very small range, so Kai'Sa had to R in there for the follow-up. So we know that Kai'Sa's R is down. Of course, I did R there as well to get up as much damage as I possibly could. I just E out of the way, press Q, press W and R. So I just basically just used everything because they're really close to us. It was pretty easy to hit, so I just used everything there. So both of us, of course, do have our R done. Alistar does go for the engage again. Kai'Sa is in no position to actually follow up there, so we basically we win the trade because Alistar engaged without Kai'Sa nearby. So we did actually get off a lot of harass on the Alistar. So we're not going to miss the cannon minion under the way if we do use the Q to secure that. But basically, we do get a lot of harass on the Alistar because Kai'Sa couldn't do anything. Alistar doesn't really have damage, of course, so we pretty much just chunk him out, basically. So now the enemy bot lane is missing. We can now see that Alistar is hovering at the dragon area. They are probably doing the dragon, but there is not a lot that we can do about it. Now we do clear up the wave, and they're not actually doing the dragon, so we do get a ward on the dragon. We are going to recall, but actually Nami hits a really nice bubble. I cancel the recall, and I do manage to get the kill onto the Kai'Sa, which is really good. So, and in the meantime, Shyvana just ignores this entire fight. She's just soloing the dragon here, so she does get the ult of Corki with a really nice package. I accidentally E right into the Valkyrie path. I have to flash over the package so that I don't get slowed by the package and killed by Corki. So it may seem that I might have survived there, but honestly, if I didn't flash there, I'm relatively certain, like I'm like 75% certain I die there because of Corki's short range damage as well as the slow and damage from the package path. So I just flash out of the way, E flash, so that's why Ezreal is really safe. I have my E and I have my flash, so I can escape from a lot of situations. So now here, this is the same tip that I did give in the commentary guide, which is that after you get your tier or your mana immune, so in this particular gameplay, I did go for mana immune straight up instead of rushing the Triforce like I mentioned. It is a recent gameplay, however, I have yet to do the Triforce Rush. In my latest couple of games, I do the Triforce Rush, which is why I recommend it, because I do think that it is slightly better. But, of course, nothing wrong with just straight up building a mana immune, because you do stack the mana immune faster when you fully upgrade it compared to stacking the tier. So, after you go from Sapphire Crystal to tier to mana immune, at each stage you do stack faster. So, actually, there's nothing wrong with going for a mana immune completed first and then going for Triforce as well. But just that you spike a little bit earlier if you go for Triforce immediately after the tier. Because you can stack the tier and then get the benefits of Triforce. So here, again, Alistar does manage to combo us, and then we kite back. And Nami hits a nice ultimate there, and we also ultimate to get out the damage. So me and Kai'Sa are relatively similar health. Actually, all four of us are relatively similar health. So Alistar is in the bush there. We can't see him. So here we get off some really nice damage onto the Kai'Sa. However, Alistar comes to the rescue with an engage there. So we are gonna pick up the Alistar instead. I buried it there just in case, because it seemed like Alistar was gonna get the kill on us. But Zed manages to clean up the kill on Kai'Sa there. So here, instead of backing, what we're doing is that since we know that they are both dead and we know that the enemy jungler is taking the Rift Herald, what we are going to do instead is take the first tower of the game, and then we're just going to E to stack our our tier even more, or stack our mana immune even more, I should say, because we know that there is completely no threat of anyone. We know Shyvana just took the Rift Herald, so she's either still at the Rift Herald pit or she's recalling. We have vision of Corki mid, and we have vision of Galio at top, so we know that there can be nobody who can actually come and ambush us, so we just use our E there just to stack up. Only do that if you're 100% confident that you will not need it. So there, it's 100% chance that I won't need it because the bot lane is dead and we know where the rest of the team is. So we can use it for the stacking over there. So here I'm just gonna ping enemies missing. So apparently they just looped all the way around and came to our tribush. So instead, Mundo is gonna come in for the gank. So Nami hits a nice bubble on the Alistar. Alistar is really tanky with his ultimate. So here Shyvana does come in. Shyvana flashes for the kill on the Mundo. Here we're gonna see if we can do anything to help out, but it's not likely. So we're just gonna go over the wall here, so we don't get trapped between the Corki and the Shyvana. So here we did manage to escape there. We get off the R. I was originally aiming for the Shyvana, but I ended up hitting the Kai'Sa instead, which at least we hit somebody, is all I can say. So one thing I would say with the Ezreal ultimate is don't be stingy with it. I would say a lot of people like to hold the ultimate to either get the last hit or a cross-map snipe, but we all know it's really hard to do cross-map snipes. You need relatively good aim and relatively good timing, which is of course doable. I have done it a lot of times, and I'm sure that you guys will be able to do it as well. However, the chances of it actually being useful is lower than if you just use it for straight up damage. Like, you can use it at the start of fights if you can hit like majority of the enemy team with it, and of course you can use it at the end of fights to clean up damage. You can also just use it in the middle of fights to just get off extra damage when your other abilities are on cooldown. So don't be stingy with your ultimate. Just use it when you need to. So here we are, 4 people just gonna take the dragon. Now obviously we see them ward over the wall. Corki is there, he can't really do too much. Zed is going on him. Kai'Sa for some reason walks alone into the dragon pit. I have no idea what she's thinking there. She obviously can't do anything, so we just get the easy kill on here. I get the R on both of them and pick up a double kill there. So we're really starting to snowball now. We're 4-0-2, and of course with the champion rune this is gonna be really good because we still have yet to die. So here of course we don't want to change that. So here sorry, Darius is going in on them. However, there is a minion wave sort of blocking, so I can't really get off my damage on them other than my basic attack. So here I'm just sieging the tower. We're 4 people sieging the tower. Here I'm just being a little bit more aggressive with my E. I'm tanking the tower for my team. Here, getting the kill on the Alistar. Shyvana is going in, and I nearly die. I live with a sliver of HP. Nami gets the shutdown on the Shyvana. So Shyvana obviously was going for me there. I don't think it was a bad decision by her considering how low I was and how she could get off her damage on me, but unfortunately for her I survived with just that little bit of HP. Really unfortunate for her there. Would have lost a champion stack there, but still don't think that play was a mistake. We had 4 people to siege a tower, especially since it was against a Shyvana and an Alistar who are both melee and can't really defend the siege. We unfortunately do not manage to pick up the mid tower, but we do get the kill on both of them, which is also alright. Not the best case scenario, but obviously not the worst case scenario there as well because we didn't die. So here we have to come back up top to defend our top tower because Kai'Sa is pushing. We of course want to pick up the mid tower as soon as we can because the mid tower is really low. Now we hit probably our most massive power spike, Ezreal's most massive power spike, which is getting both your evolved mana moon as well as the Triforce. So here Zed does go in on the Kai'Sa, and we pick up the Kai'Sa with our Q here. So here Shyvana sets off the Herald for no apparent reason. Might be a misclick, or might just be a panic Herald drop, but there's completely no reason to use the Herald here. We are actually just gonna pretty much just go around the Herald to the Shyvana to get off the damage on her. Nami misses the wave because Shyvana flashes, and I also don't hit the R, but basically it's a complete waste of the Herald here. Unfortunately for the enemy team, that Herald could have been equivalent to 1 tower, but unfortunately Shyvana just randomly uses that Herald. So here of course we are going for the mid lane tower. Zed does hit the plant, check if any enemies are nearby, which we don't spot any, so we're just gonna W the tower for more damage. Then we're just gonna pick up the tower itself. Kai'Sa is here, Alistar is here, Corki shows up as well. So I'm pinging to retreat. This is not a good fight. Of course we are pretty overextended, but our entire team is doing relatively well. We managed to chunk out the Alistar because Alistar didn't manage to get off her ultimate. Zed ultimate does a ton of work on the Kai'Sa as well as hitting the rest of his combo. So we do get off some damage on the Kai'Sa, but the pop from the Zed ultimate does finish her off. So our team, of course, doing really well. Z316, Nami yet to die. I'm yet to die as well. I have 6 kills and 4 assists. Darius 333 not doing too bad. Mundo, of course, he's tanking for us, so he does have quite a bit of deaths, but it's fine. He has his Core Sunfire Aegis as well as his Spirit Visage, which is of course what Mundo really wants. There is of course Corki and Galio there, so Spirit Visage pretty good pickup for him. Now, the enemy team, probably the scariest at the moment is the Shyvana, because Shyvana is always scary for AD carries because she can easily access the backline, and we have been getting comboed by the Alistar relatively frequently, mainly because of our slightly aggressive positioning, because we always have our E to escape, but we haven't really encountered the Galio apart from the time that we killed him together with the Alistar, I believe, in the last dragon fight. But Kai'Sa honestly isn't playing too well. The fact that she walked into the dragon pit by herself just now says that. But Corki honestly is probably Corki and Shyvana are the biggest threats, because Corki has picked up his Triforce, and for some reason he has gone for Blade of the Rune King. Not a normal Corki build, but so be it. So here we are of course just rushing the next dragon because we can see them walking here, but it does not really matter. I E out of the Galio ultimately because I do not want to get knocked up. Here I'm just kiting back. I'm going to put down the screen so we can see what's happening. Now they're all chasing the Mundo here, so I do not walk in here because if not they would focus me instead. So here instead I'm just kiting. I E out of the way, kiting the Corki. Corki's really low. I'm going to flash, get the kill on the Corki. Shyvana is here kiting back, getting the kill on the Shyvana. Kiting away from the Galio. A triple kill over there. We pick up the Alistar as well. Mundo picks up the Alistar as well, and we're gonna give chase to the Kai'Sa, of course. Now Mundo gets a double kill, but this could have very well been a pentakill for Ezreal. Of course, at this point in time, the enemy team surrenders. Can't really blame them for that, but that could have been a pentakill from me right there if Mundo did not steal those last 2 kills. As you guys can see, I'm doing a ton of damage there, but we're gonna take a look at the stats themselves. So as you guys can see, we are the MVP. So we also pick up a lot of other stuff like legendary, most kills, most gold, triple kill, most champion damage, turret, most turret damage, as well as team fight participation, which is really good, of course. Darius does get the most minions, and Nami gets the most assists. Alistar, for very obvious reasons, takes the most damage. As you guys can see how tanky Alistar is. So of course we did get Zanyas just to be safe, because Alistar, Galio, and Shyvana, and even Corki to some extent, and Kai'Sa actually, the entire enemy team actually, to some extent, at the very minimum, can just go in on us. Like, Corki can technically package right over to us, Kai'Sa can ult to us, the rest can just access us really easily in their own ways. So we do want to just be safe there and get the Zanyas, and I'm just going to take a look at the rest of what everybody else is building. Now, no comments for the Zed and Nami. Darius builds both Triforce and Black Cleaver and then goes into Death's Dance. Now, it's not advisable to build both Triforce and Black Cleaver. It's normally an either or. So you either build Triforce or you build Black Cleaver. In this case, Black Cleaver is probably a better item for this game because me and Zed do a lot of physical damage. So Darius going for the armor shred on the Black Cleaver is probably better. So Darius build not too good. Mundo is doing Mundo's build is fine. Corki, I'm not sure why he's going for a Blade of the Rune King. Normally you would go for crit. Afterwards, Kai'Sa is technically building fine. Alistar, interesting build. Going for Dead Man's Plate first is common on Alistar, but he actually goes for the Thimble Winter, which is an interesting choice. Of course, that gives him a lot of cooldown reduction. I can't say that it's wrong, but I do think it's an interesting build because not a lot of Alistars go that. Galio, standard build. Shyvana, same mistake as the Darius there. Both were both Triforce and Black Cleaver, not advisable at all, but I do like the fact that she took the Righteous Glory because she really needs that to rush to the backline to sort of try to assassinate us. So that's pretty good on her actually. So now we're going to take a look at the other statistics, the damage stats and all. So as you guys can see, we did do the most champion damage by honestly a mile. The closest after that was Corki, which we do have an 8k difference from us and him. Zed did a lot less damage than I thought. Mundo and Darius, not too surprising. They didn't really build too much damaging items. And the rest of the enemy team, of course, they were pretty behind the majority of the match, so they don't do too much damage. But we do also take... I did actually take a little bit more damage than I was expecting, but of course, we did get engaged upon by Alistar a couple of times. Our mistake there, but yeah, so that wasn't the best, but it was good that we got a lot of teamfight participation and a lot of goal, of course, so that is good. So with that, guys, thanks for watching the video, and goodbye.